Good evening. I'm Rohit Sharma and welcome to Desi from Dicey, coming to you every night from heart of Washington. This is where America's power corridor meet India's prime time to break down the political, economic, and global stories that shape both nations live from Washington, D.C. From Capitol Hill to Rise on a Hill, we connect the dots between what happens here in Washington and how it echoes back home in India. We begin tonight with the biggest stories of the day. Trump meets Mamdani at White House. Tejas fighter jet crashes in Dubai. Zelensky warns Ukraine faces dignity loss. Vance ally gains Pentagon power rapidly. And Reliance ends Russian oil for exports. In Washington today, there was no need for President Trump to turn up the volume, as many expected the meeting between President Trump and Zohran Mamdani to be tense, maybe even confrontational. But it turned out to be surprisingly warm. A meeting of mayor and the President of the United States was trending across the globe as both leaders sat down in the cabinet room at the White House with FDR's portrait hanging on the wall in a way subtly White House acknowledging the win of Mamdani's socialist platform, and instead of fireworks that many expected, the two men walked away describing each other in almost glowing terms. For two leaders who have traded barbs a month, media expected a blockbuster meeting, much like the Trump-Zelensky meeting from spring of this year. But there was a major shift in tone. And as President Trump hinted multiple times during the meeting, that this could possibly be a start of a very different relationship between Washington, D.C. and New York City. The meeting ran longer than scheduled, and by all accounts, both sides were strikingly upbeat. President Trump said that the two agreed on a lot more than he expected, while Mamdani, who built his campaign on sharp criticism of President Trump, noticeably dialed it back, telling reporters in the Oval Office that the conversation was productive, respectful, and focused on doing the right thing by the New Yorkers. At the top of the list was affordability. The president and the mayor-elect jointly called on to lower utility rates, a rare moment of unity from two ideological opposites. Both framed it as a way to bring immediate cost relief to families already struggling with rent, groceries, and transit. The tone marked a clear reset from Mamdani, who just weeks ago accused Trump of undermining New York's values. Today, standing next to President Trump, he described the president as engaged and willing to listen. And sources inside the room say that Mamdani arrived ready to collaborate and not to confront. Beyond utilities, the pair discussed public safety, infrastructure funding, and the city's economic recovery. And while they avoided the usual flashpoints on topics like immigration, sanctuary policies, federal enforcement, the meeting was viewed internally as a test whether these two can work together at all. Even more telling were the optics. Trump praised Mamdani's energy, and Mamdani thanked Trump for his openness, and both left without the harsh rhetoric that has defined their political relationship so far. White House officials say more conversations are likely, especially as Mamdani prepares to take on this office on January 1st. And advisors close to Mayor-elect say today's meeting was designed to send a signal. Mamdani is willing to deal, negotiate, and lower the temperature if it helps New York City. So what comes next? The White House says the follow-up discussions are already being planned, and New Yorkers will be watching closely to see whether their new mayor and his meeting today, with the warmth that we saw in the White House, turns into real policy movement, or whether it fades once again as the cameras were turned off. And more on President Trump and New York Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani and their meeting today at the White House at the Oval Office. Trump praising Mamdani's victory and vowed to support on affordability issues from housing to food to energy costs and everything that they could agree on. And Mamdani essentially saying that both Trump and himself focused on easing financial pressure on New Yorkers despite their political differences.
Well, thank you very much. We've just had a great meeting, a really good, very productive meeting. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well. And I wanted to congratulate the mayor. He really ran an incredible race against, a lot of smart people, starting with the early primaries against some very tough people, very smart people. and he beat him easily, and I congratulated him. And we talked about some things in very strong common, like housing and getting housing built, and food and prices, and the price of oil is coming way down. Anything I do is going to be good for New York. If I can get prices down, it's good for New York. But I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have, hopefully, a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am, I will say. There's no difference in party. There's no difference in anything. And we're going to be helping him to make everybody's dream come true, having a strong and very safe New York. And congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I appreciated the meeting with the President, and as he said, it was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers, the 8.5 million people who call our city their home, who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the President, I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot.
But just days ago, you referred to President Trump as a despot who betrayed the country. You said you'd be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the President is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers.
And I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. But maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
President Donald Trump is brushing off past criticism from New York Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, who once called him a fascist. When pressed by reporters in the Oval Office, Trump stepped in, saying he wasn't offended and did not mind the remark. The exchange came after what both leaders described as productive Oval Office meeting, a surprising show of civility despite their deep political differences. Now, the moment obviously signals Trump's willingness to move past the rhetoric as to attempt a reset in their working relationship.
I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay?
Yeah.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
About the future disagreements and meetings, President Trump said he expects differences with Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, but believes they will ultimately find common ground for the good of New York. He stressed that party lines don't matter to him. What matters is helping the city succeed, saying Mamdani's success would make me very happy.
Are there still topics that you see the two of you disagreeing on in the future? And do you think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately he'll convince me or I'll convince him. You know, it's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable, if he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
A moment of pride turned to profound tragedy at the Dubai Air Show today, when India's indigenous Tejas fighter jet crashed during a demonstration flight, claiming the life of the pilot. Our top story tonight, the loss of decorated Indian Air Force officer and renewed questions about homegrown aircraft that represents India's push towards self-reliance in defense manufacturing. The crash occurred approximately at 2:10 p.m. local time at Al Maktoum International Airport as crowds of spectators watched in horror. Black smoke billowed over the runway, sirens wailed, and what should have been a showcase of Indian military prowess became a scene of devastation. The pilot has been identified as 37-year-old Wing Commander Namanch Syal from Patialkhad in Himachal Pradesh's Kangra district. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh called him a brave and courageous Indian Air Force pilot, while Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu described the loss as extremely heartbreaking, saying the nation has lost a brave, dutiful, and courageous pilot. This marks the second crash of Tejas fighter in just 20 months. In March 2024, another single-engine Tejas went down near Jaisalmer in Rajasthan shortly after participating in a military exercise. The Indian Air Force has ordered a court of inquiry to determine what went wrong. The Tejas is India's homegrown answer to foreign fighter jets, a 4.5 generation delta wing multi-role light combat aircraft developed by the indigenously produced Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. First inducted in 2016, the aircraft represents India's ambitious vision of defense self-sufficiency with orders totaling over 200 aircraft worth tens of thousands of crores. Just a day before the crash, India's defense ministry had dismissed social media claims on oil leakage in the Tejas, the same airshow calling the videos fake and deliberately misleading propaganda. So was the Tejas crash at the Dubai airshow just a tragic accident or something far more sinister? Just a day after India's fact-check unit exposed a coordinated fake oil leak campaign targeting Tejas, the fighter jet went down during negative G maneuver, killing the pilot and triggering massive speculation. Let's take a look at this report.
Was the Tejas crash at the Dubai Air Show sabotage? A bold question, but one the internet did not waste a second asking. Just 24 hours after India's official fact-check unit demolished a coordinated propaganda campaign claiming that the Tejas had an oil leak, the jet went down during a high-G maneuver at the Dubai Air Show. The propaganda videos were exposed as fake. The so-called oil was routine drainage of condensed water, a normal process in Dubai's humid climate. Yet the narrative was clearly deliberately pushed to undermine India's indigenous fighter. And then, the crash. On the final day of the air show, an IAF Tejas Mk1 from the Sulur squadron rapidly lost altitude during a negative G maneuver and slammed into the ground. The pilot did not survive. For a jet with one of the cleanest safety records in Indian aviation history, this was only the second crash in 24 years. That's precisely why the timing triggered alarm bells. On social media, the reactions were blunt. Can't ignore the sabotage angle at this stage. If not pilot error, then what? Mechanical failure? Sabotage? Even aviation experts, usually the most cautious voices, acknowledge that all possibilities, including sabotage, must be examined. Experts say that the court of inquiry will look into mechanical issues, fly-by-wire malfunction, control surface problems, and yes, sabotage. Nothing is off the table.
What could have been the cause? Only the court of inquiry would say. But the most disheartening thing is the report coming from the Indian Air Force a little while ago to say that it was a fatal crash wherein we have lost the pilot, which is very, very painful for all of us. The reasons could be mechanical. The reason could be the malfunction of fly-by-wire or any control surface. The sabotage angle would also be looked at by the court of inquiry team. The FDR and CVR would be extracted. The complete team would be there in a little while from now, gathering all the available information and data to analyze, and would bring out to all of us that what exactly went wrong. At this stage, to speculate and to say what could have gone wrong is incorrect, and to having lost a brother in arm is very, very sad. This will give fodder to our enemies and to the people who don't like our growth to say that this is not a safe aircraft, which is absolutely incorrect. Tejas had been flying for the last 15 years and is going to be the backbone. This is the first fatal crash of a Tejas. We had one before where the pilot ejected. It's absolutely safe, and I would like all of you to believe.
But the footage tells its own story. The jet was executing a sharp negative G loop, an extreme precision maneuver used in aerobatics. Losing control for even a fraction of a second can be fatal. Experts reviewing the crash said the aircraft appeared to lose altitude too quickly to recover. Still, the coincidence is impossible to ignore. Day 1, Propaganda tries to discredit Tejas. Day 2, Tejas crashes. Coincidence? Maybe. Suspicious? Absolutely. Confirmed sabotage? Not yet. The real answer lies in the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, now under analysis. Until the Court of Inquiry reports, speculation is tempting but premature. One thing, however, is certain. This crash has not weakened Tejas. It has only strengthened India's resolve to defend, protect and perfect its indigenous fighter. With Rishika Aradhya, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky delivered a stark and emotional address to his nation today, warning that Ukraine stands at one of the most difficult crossroads in its history. Our story tonight, a leader caught between impossible choices as pressure mounts from all sides to end the war with Russia. In a rare 10-minute address from outside the presidential palace in Kyiv, Zelensky outlined the brutal dilemma facing his country. Accept a US drafted peace plan that reportedly includes significant concession to Moscow's demands, or risk losing America as a key partner. Ukraine may be confronted with a very difficult choice, either a loss of dignity or the risk of losing a key partner, he said. His words heavy with the weight of nation's fate. The president described intense pressure on Ukraine ahead of the crucial negotiations next week, warning his people to brace for efforts to weaken us, to divide us. He framed the choice starkly: either embrace what he called a complex 28-point plan or face an extremely harsh winter and a life without freedom, without dignity, or without justice. But Zelensky made clear he won't go quietly, and he pledged to work constructively with Washington and other allies, promising to present arguments, persuade, and offer alternatives, while ensuring Ukraine does not hand Russia propaganda victories by appearing to reject peace. The Ukrainian leader also issued an urgent plea for unity at home, calling on citizens, lawmakers, and officials to end infighting in political games. We must pull ourselves together, come to our senses, stop the infighting, he urged, emphasizing that all of us must remember and must not confuse who exactly is the enemy of Ukraine today. Earlier today in the Oval Office, when President Trump was asked about President Zelensky's comment, the President said he has no more cards to play and he must accept the reality. There will be more on this story, and we'll continue to track that on India Today and India Today Global. The city of lakes has transformed into a glittering stage for what's being called the wedding of the year. Udaipur is hosting a 3-day extravaganza that's drawn everyone from Donald Trump Jr. to Jennifer Lopez and Justin Bieber, as US-based former billionaire's daughter Netra Mantena prepares to marry tech entrepreneur Vamsi Gadiraju in a celebration that blends Indian tradition with global star power. The festivities kicked off on November 21st across Udaipur's most iconic venues, the Leela Palace, Zinana Mahal, and an island place on Lake Pichola. The bride, Netra Mantena, is the daughter of Rama Raju Mantena, chairman and CEO of Ingenious Pharmaceuticals, whose empire spans the US, Switzerland, and India. The groom, Vamsi Gadiraju, is no slouch himself, a Columbia graduate, Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree, and co-founder of Super Order, an AI-powered platform revolutionizing restaurant operations. But it's the guest list that's truly jaw-dropping. President Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., has already been spotted at Taj Mahal ahead of the celebration. Tonight, a massive musical spectacular will feature performances by Justin Bieber, Jennifer Lopez, DJ Tiesto, Black Coffee, and even Cirque du Soleil. A Bollywood contingent reads like who's who of Indian cinema. Hrithik Roshan, Ranveer Singh, Shahid Kapoor, Karan Johar, Varun Dhawan, Janhvi Kapoor, Madhuri Dixit, and more are expected to grace the celebration designed by Wizcraft wedding event managers. Despite the international glamour, the wedding remains deeply rooted in Indian tradition. The main ceremony takes place on November 23rd, marking the union of two accomplished young professionals whose family represent global success of Indian diaspora. A haunting vision of climate catastrophe has earned a Hunter College professor one of literature's highest honors, Our top story, Megha Majumdar's second novel, A Guardian and a Thief, has been named a finalist for 2025 National Book Award in Fiction, joining an impressive roster of accolades including an Opera's Book Club selection and a spot on Time Magazine's 100 Must-Read Book of 2025. Set in a near-future Kolkata drowning under climate change, flooding and famine, the 224-page novel tells the story of two desperate families whose lives collide over a single theft. Ma, a shelter manager, is days away from escaping to Michigan on a precious climate visa with her toddler daughter and elderly father. But when her purse containing the irreplaceable immigration document is stolen by Boomba, a teenage resident of her own shelter whose village was destroyed by floods, both families spiral into a nightmare neither could foresee. The Washington Post called it a perfect short novel, 200 pages of tightly honed panic about life in a collapsing society. Publishers Weekly praised Majumdar for conjuring a city at once deteriorating and resilient with no clear-cut villain here, just people attempting to survive and protect their own. The novel has drawn comparisons to Cormac McCarthy's post-apocalyptic masterpiece, The Road. Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Stacey Schiff asked, wondering if there is a novel out there that gives The Road a run for its money. The New York Times praised Majumdar's tense and deeply compassionate portrait of desperation, fear, and combined selflessness and selfishness of parenthood. Oprah made it her 119th book club pick, calling Majumdar wise beyond her years and praising her ability to interweave the way people live and relate to each other in such a way that leaves us spellbound. An interesting power shift is unfolding at Pentagon. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll's high-stake mission to Ukraine this week has revealed a striking divide in the Trump administration between a rising star trusted with critical peace negotiations and a defense secretary increasingly sidelined. Today we talk about this story where Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth might feel out of loop. Now, Pete Hegseth sat in Washington posting angry messages on social media. His subordinate Dan Driscoll was in Kiev's Mariinsky Palace meeting with President Zelensky to deliver Trump's latest peace plan. There's not a lot of trust in Hegseth to deliver these messages to key leaders, said one administration insider. There is more trust in Dan to do that right now. Driscoll, a Yale Law classmate and close friend of Vice President J.D. Vance, served as an army platoon leader in Iraq before investment banking. Trump calls him drone guy for his embrace of military technology. His Ukraine trip started as a tech mission but expanded after Trump enthusiastically blessed him to take on a major diplomatic responsibility. The rising trust in Driscoll mirrors declining confidence in Hegseth, whose faced scandals and White House friction over personal choices. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles reportedly questions his judgment, particularly his controversial pick for Chief of Staff and his other choices. And Driscoll's mission extends beyond Ukraine. He plans to meet NATO allies and is trying to arrange a sit-down with Russia's defense minister to push for peace. US officials described a remarkable pace of diplomatic activity and with an aggressive timeline. Administration sources say Driscoll aims for incremental progress rather than breakthrough, with his meetings balancing battlefield innovation and diplomacy. As one White House insider put it, Dan's relationship with JD certainly helped him get the job, but all of his success has been his own. He's just really amazing at the job. As we come to close the show, let's take a look at the warm traditional welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi received at the G20 summit in Johannesburg, South Africa. And that wraps up tonight's edition of Desi from DC. This is Rohit Sharma saying a good night. And if you're watching us on India Today Global, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button before you leave. Stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay curious.